Well, hello my fellow RC crawlers. I've got my Redcat Gen7 Pro and I'm gonna take it and see what it can do straight out of the box. So to start with, I'm just gonna put it on the ground, do some circles, and I'm gonna put some chalk to measure how big or how small the circles are.
Kids still play here. Like I said, I'll put a mark by this front wheel and then we'll do a circle and see what happens. I'm moving the front wheels right now, but it doesn't even look like they're turning. As far as a circle goes, that's not a very good circle. I don't think I would be able to maneuver around any objects if I can't turn any better than this. Let's give this one another try and see if it does better.
Alright, I've got my few helpers with me, Rascal and the neighbor's dog. Let's try this again. That's the wheels turned as far as they'll turn.
Not really getting off to the best start.
Nope. We're gonna have to do something about that. Well, all I know is right out of the box that sucked. But I think it's an easy adjustment to start with. Look at the front wheels, how little they move. That's it. I know from my Everest 10, my Redcat Everest 10, there's little knobs in these controllers and they allow you to, there's a couple of controls, little knobs inside of here, and they should affect it. One is the steering trim. I don't know if that's showing up or not, but it allows you to make it so when the steering wheel's in its neutral position and it goes straight. And one of them should be how much that servo motor spins, the one that links the front wheels, and right now it is set to about 50. Let's dial this joker up and set it as high as it'll go to 100. That's a lot more. Well, let's see how that works. Wheels as far as they'll turn and go this time. Oh, that makes a big difference, doesn't it?
I had to actually read the manual to figure out how to do this on my Everest 10.
That's almost where it started from. And now let's go.
Front wheel's at the chalk line again, so let's see how tight this thing can turn.
That's about the halfway point. And that's going to be like that. Number 1. So this is why I like the RC rock crawlers. There's precision involved. You don't have to worry about how fast you're going and how high you can jump. Eventually you're going to try to go over obstacles with it. So you want it to be responsive. And one of the things that's being responsive is being able to steer around objects. So the next thing to do, we've done as much as possible using a controller, is to look at the suspension and how it's built and what we can do to maybe improve it. I'm going to unplug it this time so it doesn't drive off with me somehow or another.
So I realized I still wanted to use a controller to turn the wheels, so I plugged the battery back in.
I'm probably going to... God, I might have did it again. I've already put a fancy nick on my beautiful paint job, so I disconnected the motor. So now I can't bump it and actually go off the table. You see this spot right here? That's what allows the front wheels to turn. And if we wanted them to turn more, That means this rod has to go farther left or right. And I can see right away there's another hole down here. So if we take this and move it down some, it should be farther down, which means it should turn farther. So let's see.
You're going to need a set of small Allen wrenches if you want to do any work on your RC crawlers.
All right. Now, the wheel should turn farther because that's turning farther. So let's take this back down and put it on the ground and see what it'll do. Let's do another circle and see how tight it is. We've done the same thing. We got our wheel on the blue mark. Let's see what this little rascal can do. That's pretty impressive. Let's put a mark on the ground. Wow. I'm not sure if it's an overly wide turn, because if we were to put our marks in it, that would be number 2. That's our second adjustment. And you can see how much tighter that turns just by doing that little bit. Yep, it'll turn fast. They said that this was a lot faster than the Everest, and I believe it. Check out the front wheels. They're like pigeon-toed in. You see that? Let's see if there's a way I can adjust the throttle down some. She's still a fast one. Front wheelie.
I don't know what kind of tread pattern that is, but those tires sure are aggressive.
But those tires really grip.
So RC crawlers have a little servo motor, and that rotates a little plastic piece called the horn, and the horn turns the front wheels. I purchased 2 new servo motors for my Everest 10, and this is the one that's left over. Here is the original Everest 10 servo motor and horn in a bag.
And it looks like we have got the same exact motor. But what's different is this little arm. It looks like the distance is farther, which means when it goes back and forth, it's going to move farther. So let's try putting that on it and see what happens. These are just plastic. They just slip on and off. And that's what my servo motor looks like without it. And I'm hanging on to these parts for something else. What? I don't know. If I ever wanted to make rear steering.
So let's replace the little plastic arm that swings back and forth on the servo. There's just one screw that holds it on. Now that that is loose, we can take out the second screw and just wiggle the piece off.
There we go. Well, you can see the difference. There's a lot more travel in this one.
So now we do things in reverse. We'll just wiggle that horn back onto the servo and tighten the screw.
What I'm doing is I'm adjusting the steering trim so that it's in the halfway point, so that I've got as much on each side. That'll allow me to adjust the wheels a lot better. Now what I need to do is take that back off and get it so that it's straight down to the center. What I might want to do is attach this first, because depending on how long this arm is, it may need to be in a different position.
So I've made sure that the control arm is firmly attached to that little plastic piece that goes back and forth. Now I'm going to remove that little piece of plastic and make sure that the wheels are perfectly straight before I put it back on.
It's a strong wind. It's wanting to blow my camera. Okay, it's plastic. I don't want to go crazy. I even scuffed up my little knuckle there.
Now I just need to connect the motor back up and we can do another turn test.
We do that. Let's see where we're at. That's a big difference, isn't it? That turns a lot sharper, doesn't it? Well, there we have it. We are able to shorten it up by a little more. So let's put all this stuff up and get out a measuring tape and see what we managed to accomplish. So we got it on our first mark. So our first turn radius was 95 inches. And we made the adjustment and we went to 2, which was 59 inches. And then we replaced that little pitman arm, and that took us down to 54. So from 95 to 54, 40 inches. I mean, that really changed the circumference. There's a few more things we can try, but the next thing to do would be to play around with the suspension and possibly grind down some plastic. But to do that, we're gonna have to disassemble the front end. So that will probably wait for another day. Well, there you have it. You don't even really have to go any place to have fun with the RC crawler. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and check out those playlists.